At this point in time, I'd like to call to order the special meeting regular meeting for February 4th, 2020 of the Harrison County Board of Education. At this time, I'd like to stand and have everyone say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First up tonight in our trio of special recognitions and presentations, we have a young lady named Haley McCormick, and she is here for the Superintendent's Perseverance Award. So, Doc.
Here, you want to read something?
Yeah, I do. Mr. Kirby, will you come here, please? Mrs. Sanford, will you come, please?
Here, you pull them apart and then they snap together. You sure? Doc, they'll work.
Listen, we have established a couple of years ago what we call a Perseverance Award. People can make recommendations to me and the board for people who have really distinguished themselves and overcome so much heartache and difficulty to be successful. And this means a lot to me, and in fact, I love doing these. And I've asked Mr. Kirby, who, by the way, nominated you. He nominated you. I'm going to ask him to say a few words, but Mr. President, members of the board, and all assembled here today, I'm going to read a little story. I think I can get there. In spite of overwhelming odds, Haley gave birth to a healthy baby and moved to Doddridge County, who refused to enroll her in school there, due to being asked to leave her father's house. United High School took her in on a special project to work with Haley from a distance to obtain her high school diploma. She never gave up and stayed strong for her new family and completed all of the requirements for graduation from Harrison County schools. Haley needs to be commended for her hard work, her unwavering commitment to obtain her high school education. So, Haley, and I'm going to ask Mr. Kirby first, who made the recommendation and the nomination. Why did you recommend Haley? Tell me about Haley.
Well, Haley had a tough time of it. I had a meeting, truancy meeting and all that, and we learned through a lot of things that she couldn't live at her dad's house anymore, and she wanted to live in Doddridge County. And when I learned that Doddridge County wouldn't enroll her, I realized that she was upset about it. She wanted an education. We were also working with a few other folks over in the courthouse to try and resolve the issue. And Haley met with me in the halls of the courthouse of Harrison County, and she said, "I want my education." And I said, "We'll get it. I promise you. If you work with me, you'll get it." So we set that up. She worked extremely hard. We stayed in contact through email, and she did what she needed to do and took care of it. Called me when she finished it, emailed me when she had it all done. Did a great job. Very proud of her.
Well, that's terrific. And Sarah, what kind of student has she been?
It's been quite nice because she's done everything that's been asked of her, and I've not had to have any accountability whatsoever because she's been self-directed, self-motivated, and did what she needed to do to get it done. And earned that, not only that award, but also a diploma. So hopefully she'll join us with graduation. We'd love to have her walk.
I loved it because I'll be there at your graduation. The diploma means a whole lot more than this because you can get a job.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about. You're going to take care of that job. And this is your boyfriend. What's his name?
Chance.
Chance. How you doing, Chance? All right. What do you do, Chance?
I work over at Home Depot.
I'm sorry, what?
Work over at Home Depot.
Oh, do you really? Well, good.
And then I'm competing next month for basic.
Oh. So, where are they sending you, basic?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Wow. So how you gonna take care of everything while he's gone?
Oh,
You.
I start college classes in May.
Oh, do you?
Very good.
Oh, what do you study?
Clinical medical assistance.
Medical assistance. Wow. And the little baby's name is what? Lila. That's my little niece's name. So, hi Lila. And you know what kind of responsibility now? That's what I was always told my son. You can run around, you can play around, you can do all crazy things, you can do whatever, but once you have another child, that child right there is totally dependent on you, both of you to take care of her. So God bless you for what you've done, and I'm gonna read this. Superintendent's Perseverance Award presented to Haley McCormick for a resolution to succeed. It's presented by the Harrison County Board of Education, and it's signed by all 5 members of the board, as well as the superintendent. And this will always be in the records of this day, Harrison County Board of Education, that you receive this award. And we have a little saying at the end of all of these Perseverance Awards. The strength of a woman is not measured by the impact that all her hardships in life have had on her, but the strength of a woman is measured by the extent of her refusal to all those hardships to dictate her and who she becomes. So, Haley, congratulations on overcoming a lot of difficulties, but you know what? This is just the beginning. You still have a long way to go. But you're going to graduate. Absolutely. Here, Lila. Lila, you're grabbing at it. You're grabbing it at it.
All right. I don't know what, I don't know, I don't even know what to talk about. What training is talking about?
You want to say anything, Lila? Tell me how you've been able to overcome it. Why? Just why? Because you care about your little daughter?
I live there.
Well,
She's a
listen,
pretty little girl. She's a pretty girl.
congratulations. And hopefully, now you know anytime as you continue, come and see us. If life gets a little tough when he's out, come and see us. We may be able to help you. In fact, I know we'll be able to help you, okay?
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck. Congratulations. Thank you all.
Okay, Dr. Manchin, our next special recognition is for Mr. David C., the Child Nutrition Director, who has decided that he is going to retire.
Oh, really?
Well, we haven't voted on it yet.
Haven't voted on it
so
yet.
I guess it's up to us, really.
Yeah, we have.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
we did.
Well,
We did
okay.
on another one, yeah.
Oh, all right, well, here you are to be recognized for your retirement.
Well, I'd like, because I know how strong the board feels about Mr. C. I can remember, what you got there, David?
I didn't know how long it would take. I packed a lunch.
Well, we'll see
That's
about that.
about you.
This is,
Oh, no,
He's got
well,
something.
thank you.
this is what the Lions Club gives us every month, 200
Did
of
you read
these
that?
bags to use for the backpack program for kids. You wanna lay that stuff out?
Oh, well, that's peanut butter. I'll take that home tonight. Oh, applesauce. Ooh. Oh,
Oh, yeah, sugar pops.
I've been using those for treats.
Do it again.
hey, cheesies?
They're taking.
Oh.
No, don't throw that one.
Look at that's an Italian.
It's quite a haul for a kid to bring home on the weekend and say, I got enough
Yeah.
food now that I know I'm gonna make it till school.
You like it?
Absolutely,
I like chocolate. Any chocolate in there?
yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, Kristen. Oh, no.
I know there's not chocolate.
It's probably he's trying to be healthy.
Anyway, just wanted to share that with you. We get 200 of those bags every month from the Clarksburg Lions Club, and they're one of the many organizations that support Harrison County schools with backpack programs and pantry items, because we have a lot of needy kids.
That's wonderful.
If you see somebody that's a member of the Lions Club, like Dr. Manchin, you can thank them for what they do.
Well, I tell you what, and what I liked about David, he never said no. So Dave, can we, absolutely, he always figured out a way. He was always resourceful. You know why? Because I know he cares. I know he has scripture in his office. I go in there and he has his book opened, the Bible opened. And I've just admired him since the day I met him. And he came from out of county. Remember, we talked about that.
Yeah.
He came, we had several choices, and he came from out of county.
But since I heard it was Fayette County, I know why he came.
Now, why is that? All right, let me, Mr. C, David came from Fayette County in 2016. So you've been here 4 years?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. At Harrison County Schools as Director of Child Nutrition. Upon his arrival, he has been very busy implementing his vision of feeding our children. And when they are not in a typical school setting. David wrote a grant for snow day meals to be served when there was a need in the county that has evolved into the food pantry that includes all of the Harrison County schools. He has expanded child nutrition for children to access meals during the summer. The after-school programs have increased, whereas snacks as well as meals are provided for the students. David has been vigilant to providing foods that are not only nutritious, but delicious. David has been an exemplary
That is
employee
difficult.
and an inspiration to all of us. And it's ironic that tonight, Greg, and you all are here tonight, that's exactly what we talked about the other day. And when we get to them, then you'll see how. David, thank you for your service. I think God's own work on this earth truly is our own work, and I think you've shown that. That's more than a job for you, it's a calling, and I appreciate that. And I know I'm speaking on behalf of the board. I'm gonna allow the board, because every one of them said, what are we gonna do? Do not let Mr. C leave. Do not let Mr. C leave without, recognizing him by the Board of Education. So I'm gonna give the board a quick opportunity. and
I'll go
Kristen-
first.
Kristen,
I'll
go
tell you,
lady.
I see comments all the time in the public about how our kids go, the general comments about our kids, feeding them, we don't care about them and stuff. And I usually don't make comments back, but because of the programs you have brought, I am so anxious to tell people basically, you have no idea what our programs have evolved because of you. From the summer to the after school to even what's in the schools during the regular school day. And you have just really been a huge, huge push, like people don't even understand our county, and it's very appreciated, and happy retirement. We'll miss you, but I see you're still gonna be around, so that's good too.
Yeah, I'd like to say that it takes special person to want to help as many children as you've helped and expanded the programs like Ms. Messenger has said. And I think you are to be commended for the work you've done here. And if you are interested in consulting, I might think that the rest of the board might be interested in having that when we bring someone else on. Because your ideas were good, they were solid, and if we had the opportunity to get more out of you, I would love to take it.
Last month I was at the Harrison County Commission meeting, and Parks and Recreations were there, the Harrison County Parks and Recreations, to give their yearly overview of their program, and one of the main things that stuck out to me was how devastated they were that you were leaving. I mean, that became one of their topics, that all the good works that you had done, and they turned around and said, I understand he's retiring. I said, yeah, he's retiring. So when you have some other agencies like that that are upset when someone's leaving because of the next step, yeah, well, they enjoyed working with you.
Last but not least, I always used to say, reason that God puts your eyes in the front of your head and not in the back is so that you can see where you're going, not where you've been. And ever since you've been here with our lunch programs and the child, meals on holidays and everything, the vision that you've had, you looked ahead to see what we really needed in this county to keep our kids, fed and keep them, nutrition year-round. And a lot of times, people just think, well, they go to school and they have breakfast, they have lunch, and it's done. Well, you had the vision and looking ahead as to what you wanted the program in Harrison County to be and what it to look like. You've done a tremendous job, above and beyond. And I know the gentleman that's coming in behind you, he has awful big shoes to fill. And we're just hoping that he can do, almost never going, never going to be as good, but hopefully he'll do almost as good a job as you've done for the kids of Harrison County. And we thank you, and, God bless you. And you know what? People always say, well, when do you retire? When do you know? You know when it's time to retire. And then you're going to be able, you got good health, you'll be able to do some things that you want to do and spend time with your family and just truly, God bless you and happy on your journey.
Well, I'm gonna read your certificate. Is that your wife? That lady back here? Okay, she makes it. Okay, she does what? Oh, that Chuck. Oh, you go sit down. I'm gonna bring her. I'm just kidding. What's her name? Sharon? Hey, Sharon, come on. Hey, who's this man right here?
But the honey-do list will start now.
Oh, that's one of our cooks. I should know. Sharon? Thank you for allowing your husband to be a part of this great county system of ours, and he made it great. So with that said, certificate of appreciation by the Harrison County Board of Education, recognize the state and city for many years of dedicated service to the Harrison County school system. Congratulations on your retirement. And there's a saying that, as we said, we've always put it on our certificates of appreciation, and those who've overcome heartache and difficulties, our perseverance award. But that man is successful, who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much, who has gained the respect of the intelligent men and the love of children, who has filled his niche and accomplished his task, who leaves the world better than he found it, whether by improved copy, a perfect poem, or a rescued soul, who never lacked appreciation of earth's beauty or failed to express it, who looked for the best in others, he gave the best he had. I think if anything represents Mr. David City, I think that captures it. So with that said, thank you. All of you. The chocolate cake? Well, I eat the chocolate cake. Did you want to say anything? You want to?
Doc, one other thing we wished you would have stayed till the end of the year so you could have got the one cook out at South Harrison straightened out before you left. It's been a tough task.
That, I don't think the end of this year would have still done it.
Don't think,
It's been a pleasure to work in Harrison County, and I appreciate the recognition. I can think back on a moment when we were getting reviewed at Anstead Elementary School, and Celeste Peggs, one of the people from Charleston, was standing there, and we watched a young man come up to the trash can, and he was picking apples out of the trash can. What he said was, if I cut the bad part off, that had a bite out of it, my brothers and sisters can eat tonight. That's why.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. All right, next on our special recognitions and presentations are Mr. Phillips and Mr. Morosi. Please come forward.
Turn it around.
Yeah.
Turn it around. Very good.
It's never been.
That's tough to follow. Similar issue, though. So I'm Greg Phillips, and we have representing Clarksburg Baptist Church this evening, we're all on the church council here, so my fellow council members, Jared Marazzi and Jennifer Barnes. Jennifer's not on there, but she's actually going to do the bulk of the presentation, and then Jared and I will be answering questions should you have any. But to follow that a little bit, I just want to say thank you for that. I mean, I don't know all the inner workings of how we do food and nutrition here, but I do know that I've been a part of the RCB food bank at times, and delivering them. I mean, I feel that heart. It's going to people who need it. And so I'm going to let Ms. Barnes address you on a similar issue.
Well, we want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening, and we will be brief. We understand from a news article published in August 2019 that Harrison County went into this calendar school year facing approximately $125,000 in school lunch debt. Our heart at Clarksburg Baptist Church is for the local community, and we'd love to jump in and aid if possible. Mr. C., the nutrition director, was quoted in the article as stating, "When kids show up in our lunch lines, we don't care how big their bill is. If they're on free meals, if they pay faithfully, we treat every child the same." We love this policy and the sentiment. From the article, it's our understanding that while lunch is now free for the schools in Clarksburg, many families still receive bills from previous outstanding debt and face potential collection efforts through agencies or magistrate filings. We at Clarksburg Baptist Church would love to be able to help alleviate this burden on both these families and the schools. Our hope was to be able to do this anonymously, but we understand the nature of the process. After the meeting with superintendent that Jared and Pastor Phil attended, and Greg, he advised us that it was a prerogative that we bring this before the board to direct funds. So Clarksburg Baptist Church would like to contribute to the outstanding debt at RCB and Liberty, and potentially their feeder schools. When we reached out to find out which schools had lunch debt, the numbers we were given indicated that there is approximately $25,000 outstanding at those schools. We are still working our way through this potential outreach opportunity and want to inquire as to whether there is a lesser amount that, if presented, would be acceptable to cancel all of the debt at these schools. As I mentioned earlier, the news article in August indicated that after a $200 bill is accrued, there is a collection effort made, such as agencies or magistrate filings. We assume that these collection efforts would most likely lead to a less than full settlement of the debt. So we thought that maybe there was a number less than the full payment that would be acceptable for full settlement of these outstanding balances. And if there is, we want to consider that in our internal discussions about which direction to take with our efforts. We are also looking to confirm what we believe we know about the debt, that students are still billed and liable for it, and that collection efforts are made as stated in the news article. Also, that diplomas could be held for outstanding debt, and if so, we'd love to come alongside these families and help ease that burden.
Thank you.
I think there was a question in there, and if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, I saw Ms. Hinkle shake her head no.
No, I didn't shake my head no.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you were answering the question maybe. Oh, okay. I don't know where you want to go with it, but the part of the discussion that we had with Dr. Manchin was that, you know, if we're bringing a little bit of funding to the table, kind of asking where it's going to go, and part of the conversation was directed back into the program or directed back into the schools. If we're paying the debt here, we just want to be able to tell people where it goes. But I think one of the questions they brought that is that does that happen? Does a diploma get withheld if there's debt?
I sure hope not. And if
Yeah.
a diploma gets withheld, then shame on us.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Shame on us.
Shame on us, because it happens.
We-
Mr. C?
we-
We don't withhold diplomas.
Okay.
We do encourage families, we say that you should pay the bill because we know that once
We have an answer.
Prevent them from graduating. We don't do that. In the past, we did, but we don't do that now.
How long ago was the past?
Um,
Not like 10 years ago, like maybe a year ago?
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Big-
When I first got here, we
Absolutely.
held the line, you can't walk at graduation. Then we had a change of heart. We realized that it's not the child's fault, it's family. It's not even the family's fault, it's their economic status, but we don't do that anymore.
Another wonderful thing he did, because yes, shame on us for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I saw, there was one that I heard of that just made me sick. It was a homecoming ballot. And because they had an outstanding lunch debt, they weren't allowed to be on the homecoming ballot or to be on the court. And, I can't take that
Schools
stuff.
know that. The schools don't know what the lunch balances are. That's handled here at the central office.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate so much you guys willing to help, but I feel as personally that as a governing body, I would love to be able to feed all the children in Harrison County. And I know that we have free and reduced lunch programs at, 80% of the schools, with the exception of maybe 4 schools in our county?
Yes.
The Bridgeport schools, based on socioeconomic status?
All schools except the 4 Bridgeport schools are completely free.
Mhm.
And so there's some that, they're maybe in middle school now, they have 0 lunch balance
Mhm.
on their book.
So my question is, as a governing body, would it be within our authority to be able to forgive lunch debt?
Well, I will give you my magistrate experience, which is extensive because of my business. We can spend all that money. It costs minimum, $75, $80 to even go file. Then you have to pay for it to be served. So you're over $100. And they 90% won't even show up. 100% is gonna rule in your favor because they owe it to you. And
Oh, no, that's
100%
not what I
you'll
mean.
never collect because they
That's
don't
what
have
she's
the
saying,
money.
is
Right.
if we try to collect it, it costs us
I'm not
more.
trying to say that.
And
I'm
what
trying
I'm
to
saying
say,
is
do
I
we
agree
have
with
as a
that.
governing body to eliminate that debt and forgive the people who have the outstanding debt? That is a question that I would like to answer.
And I think as a governing body, it's up to the 5 of us to decide that. And I don't think that just, what I would like to see, and they want to come to the table with some help, what I would like to see, and I understand that it's significant, 100,000, but there's probably only 15 or 20,000 at the most that's ever going to be collectible. Once they're out of the school, they're done. I would prefer to nullify that debt, and then whatever monies you possibly raise, go into the fund to help the folks from the 4 schools in Bridgeport that, there are people, we don't get free lunch in Bridgeport because of the poverty line, but there are people struggling in Bridgeport just as much as they are in Clarksburg. I mean, there are people, just because you go to Burge, you may get free lunch, but there are people struggling all over. So, I mean, that's my thing. If there's a way that we could forgive that debt, but then allow you to start some sort of fund and help that offset some debt for the folks in Bridgeport, or other places that don't have the ability to have free lunch going forward, and forget about the past, because we're not gonna collect it anyway.
Mr. President, may I address him?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there is conversation about doing things beyond the scope of just our community, like countywide. That's just conversation right now. But we are talking about, even though the schools in all the other 4 feeder districts receive the free lunch, there's outstanding debt from before it was free. And we're kind of addressing that right now. I'm not sure where it would go from where, we're just at a starting point. But we would definitely love to have this conversation.
Yeah, and I understand the outstanding debt from before, but we've had free lunch in these other areas for a couple of years now. So that debt's not been collected up to this point. It's to me, an uncollectible debt. We're not gonna collect it going forward. So I don't know that we need to take your money to fill some hole here, because it's a hole that's already, we haven't filled, and we're not gonna fill it. So I would rather than whatever efforts you have would be going forward with folks that have trouble paying their
Well,
lunch.
let me refresh, if I may, Mr. President, Mr. Phillips's memory, that we talked about the pantries.
Yes, we did.
And every school has a pantry, And we discussed that would be very beneficial to replenish these pantries, which kids can come to the school. And it's not only food, but it's toiletries and things of that nature. And it was my understanding that when we walked out, that would be something that would be very beneficial. So I would assume that probably, and I guess I need to refresh your memory about that discussion.
No, I remember that conversation. Yeah,
Well,
that's what we were trying to
discussed.
ask a minute ago, and I think we had the other ask of what does it take to cancel the debt, and I think that's what you've been addressing here.
I
It
think
sounds
by
like we
virtue-
need to have
I think by virtue of us, in the Board of Education, we haven't pursued. You'd have to go to magistrate court. We haven't done that, and we're not going to do that. So, as far as somehow, I mean, we haven't pursued it. And I could say if we can strike people's names, I guess, if that's what you're suggesting.
So we were referring to the article, that was published that said that there
I'm trying to
would
remember
be,
the
there
article.
would be, efforts to collect that debt. So, that is what we would love to be able to ease the burden of a parent not receiving a bill anymore.
My thoughts are, as they say, it's bills that's built up through the years and over the years. And I'd like to see us maybe try and retire the debt of all the senior kids that are getting ready to graduate. If we went
That was our target audience.
just to clear the seniors, then the ones that are freshmen, sophomores, by the time they get to be seniors, maybe they'll be able to, we'll be able to step up, or another group step up and maybe retire those kids so that they graduate from high school, debt-free from their food and everything. Because, like I say, it doesn't matter, we're gonna feed the children of Harrison County.
But Mike,
Okay. And I just think that, if you get a list and see how much money the seniors that are now seniors are gonna, how much they owe, then that gives us a target amount, and the other debt's gonna, gonna continue.
my question
Yeah.
though is, are we sending bills out monthly?
Yes.
I mean, so.
I get a bill monthly. I
The
get 4 bills
postage
monthly.
on,
To the Bridgeport School,
Mhm.
girls goes out monthly. To the CEP schools, I do them every other month or every couple months. They're quarterly.
still though, postage is not cheap, so we're accruing more expense on our part to send those bills
But
out
I
too.
sent out the CEP letters last week and actually from.
Out of how many letters?
You get a few.
How many letters did you send out? Do you know?
Let's say 1,000.
Well, there's 500 in postage, so.
Yeah. And you got two payments? Yeah. Yeah,
I kind of want to let them off the hook, and I understand what Gary was saying, but they're a Clarksburg Baptist church, and they're being very specific to the people that go to their church, not the whole county,
Sure.
which is Liberty and RCB. So, number one, we need to focus on that and helping their congregation and the people that they want to help. I mean, I don't want you all of a sudden to feel like you have a burden for Bridgeport or any other school, because you were very, very specific, Clarksburg, RCB, and Liberty, and the feeder schools. So I just want to take it back there so you guys don't feel bad.
no,
I don't think,
If I may,
yeah.
I think that the idea was starting there because that is the immediate Clarksburg area. That's where we're kind of at as a church. But with the idea that we would try to branch out and try to get other churches involved to try to take care of that for the county. So that's our starting point, but
Yeah.
we certainly have a heart for the Clarksburg area, but also the surrounding
Yeah.
areas as well.
Yeah, I think it's very noble that you want to step in and do something like that, but I think more so, we as a board need to step up and do something. Mr. Hamrick made a good point, why take your resources and throw them at a problem that we should be fixing and that we should be looking at? So I applaud the effort and I appreciate it so much. And if there's a way that we can work together, I would love to do that. I would love to see that happen. But I stand behind what I said earlier. I think as a governing body, we need to take it upon ourselves to make a decision on whether to forgive some of this debt or most of this debt, if not all of it.
Well, the $500 alone.
and we're spending $3,000 a year probably in postage to try to collect an uncollectible debt. And that's $3,000 that's not going to the kids that need feds.
Greg, you mentioned the food bank at RCB. Is that something that you guys could work with and start a program with Liberty and RCB?
I think let me backtrack and ask the superintendent a question. I think what we were talking about is if we are bringing money, you were talking about putting it in those specific things. Is that what we were? I am asking you to refresh my memory now.
Okay, well,
Okay. When we talked before, were we talking about putting it back into those school
yes,
food
those
banks?
specific
Yes,
schools and
okay.
pantries.
That is definitely a possibility.
Restocking those pantries.
Yes.
Is what we talked about.
Yes.
Which I thought was an excellent idea.
Yeah, so that is absolutely, that's definitely something on the table that we can talk about and do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, adding to what he said, because we do have a lot of food resources, one thing that he said that really stood out in my mind were toiletries. You know, there's girls out there that can't afford what they need. I know there's a lot of students that can't even get a bar of soap. So toiletries are such a bonus to the food that we also provide in the county, and that's something that I think we can't forget about is personal hygiene and toothpaste and toothbrushes and toiletries like that, that if they don't have food, they don't have that either. So when you said that, it sort of hit a point with me.
Yeah. That's what we talked about, that the pantries do, in fact, provide not only food, but
Toiletries.
And that was probably the cleanest, excuse the pun, but that's probably the cleanest way of doing it. As far as the debt and everything, I understand that's a sensitive point, and that's a federal program. We haven't held diplomas. I've not heard of any diplomas, and that never crossed my debt. We're compassionate. This board has been incredibly compassionate, and probably the cleanest way is just restock these. The funds go into these pantries, which will go directly to your many of your parishioners at the schools
Doug,
that I'm sorry.
No, that's all right, but, I mean, taking because it is a sensitive matter with the food, but taking that out, just looking at it from a business standpoint, and Mr. Tavano would probably agree with me, I mean, no business should be spending $3,000 in postage to try to collect. I guarantee we've never collected $3,000 in a year. So that doesn't make business sense, so it just needs to go away.
Just those
Throwing
simple
money in
levels,
a
yeah.
black hole.
Of course, not ever going to the magistrate, because you know that.
But I mean, it doesn't, if you're gonna spend $3,000 a year or more and get a couple here or a couple there, you're never gonna collect the $3,000 to pay the postage.
Forget
And
that and pay the Bridgeport.
yeah, I
With
mean,
the
do
deficit,
do
for lunches
whatever
that then
we
you
have
guys
to do.
supply.
But I think from a business standpoint, we're spending a lot of resources on something that's not collectible, and we can move on to something else, wipe it out, and make everyone happy.
Mr. C?
Certainly not against wiping out people's lunch bills that aren't gonna pay it anyway, but I just wanna make sure that we're clear on that if we wipe out the bills from the CEP schools and we're still charging the 4 Bridgeport schools, that's gonna be an untenable situation. Because you're still charging them, sending them bills, but you wiped out everybody else's bills.
Well, what about taking some time to think about it, and let's talk with Dr. Banchin and, put a committee together
Yeah,
and see if
'cause
we
I
can
don't-
study something.
And-
Because I'd like to know what the cost of funding the Bridgeport schools would actually be if we decided to pick that up.
Absolutely, and I brought that up several times, and I know it's a large expense, but I think it's a fairness issue that if we've come that far, and I understand that it's a but we've got money for other programs, and I don't think that anyone ought to be paying a lunch bill in Harrison County if we can find some other way to move some money into that, because
May I
it's.
ask a question? Yeah, so, I just want to, I very much appreciate what you're doing, and I want that to happen. I don't want to, we definitely talked with the superintendent about redirecting some of this toward the school food banks, so we're still going to talk about that, but we are concerned about canceling debt, too. I mean, when we have, I don't know what the number is, but the effort that was made to collect money toward this was about canceling debt. So we would like that conversation to continue as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Dr. Manchin can continue that conversation, and you guys can work with Dr. Manchin on that.
And worst-case scenario could be where you make a donation to cancel the debt,
Yeah.
and we match it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Gary, I was thinking that exact
Yeah,
same thing.
I mean, you come
Yeah.
with it, and that, because you came forward with this, and rather than a dollar for dollar, maybe, we
Yeah.
give you a lesser amount, 10% or 20%, and you pay to cancel that debt. And that may be-
So
Yeah.
where do we go from here?
I'll ask the president to put that on the next agenda, and in the meantime, Dr. Manchin can come back with actual figures, and where that debt is as far as senior, junior, and all that, and if we have to, maybe, he can talk to you between now and then, but we
Have
will
you-
resolve something next.
Have you collected a specific amount at this point in time?
We have, I don't know what that number is.
Okay.
I don't know that.
And I'm not asking you, I don't want to put you on the spot with it right now, that's
Yeah.
fine. But I think maybe when you continue your talk with
Yeah,
Dr. Manchin,
absolutely.
you can let
Yeah.
him know, and then when it's time for us to deliberate and talk about this on our next meeting agenda, we can bring that up and he can give it to us.
Definitely.
Mm.
That sounds very doable, so.
All right. Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you opening up the discussion.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, are there any delegations? All right, superintendent's update, Dr. Manchin.
Mr. President, I'm going to recognize Mr. Lopez to discuss, we've been moving, obviously with the CFP, but more importantly, we have started the process of Lost Creek, the new Lost Creek Elementary, and we've moved the ball a little bit further on the new Gore project. I'm going to ask Mr. Lopez to get the board up to speed and answer any of your questions.
Yes, Dr. Manchin, we have a meeting scheduled, CEFP meeting scheduled this coming Monday, the 10th of February at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. We'll be further looking at the evaluation of the school food solution, and that's in relation to the condition of our buildings, and we're getting closer to prioritizing, which we'll be bringing that to the board by this summer. Also, prior to that meeting, we have a meeting with McKinley and Associates, 5 o'clock that evening, to meet with Dr. Manchin and take a look at the scope of that project with Lost Creek Elementary School and the
Yeah, at 7.
That's correct. What I meant was after that. I apologize. I misspoke. We're going to meet afterwards. I know Dr. Manchin had asked me to fast track that, and while we had McKinley in town, we were going to try to take advantage of that opportunity.
Okay.
But anyway, and take a little further look into the full scope of that project. And then by Friday of this week, the advertisement will be out to procure an architect this Friday, and that's for the Gore Elementary School project, and those will be due by March the 2nd. And at that point, we'll begin the process of interviewing, however you so desire, interviewing and looking at those any firms that are interested in building a school for us.
So we're moving, and things are starting to heat up a little bit. You'll see a lot of things happen. We hope to start moving some dirt out of Lost Creek late spring.
Hey, Dr. Manchin.
Yes.
Have we finalized what was said as far as the amount of classroom space or the amount of how much we're going to be using in the school or not?
Michael, what we've done is that we've asked him to go back and redesign from the original. We have completed that, and I've asked Mr. Lopez to set up a meeting so we can go back out with South Harrison, both the middle school and to some degree the high school, and of course Lost Creek, to discuss some of their concerns. We took in consideration some of their concerns. One of the issues that they felt very strongly about, Michael, which you were aware of, you were sitting there, was the 6th grade wing. We took the 6th grade wing off the table. We're utilizing some other space, and I think that now we should be very close to the budget, and that we are going to be utilizing some space in the high school and some additional some space in the middle school. We believe that they should be acceptable. It's palatable to them because the 6th grade wing was really, and we felt strongly that 6th grade wing would not be utilized as part of this new school, so we left those classrooms intact. If you remember that conversation.
I remember, we talked about it in the beginning. I didn't know where we were at as of now, but I would like to see if we could add some more money into it. We're talking about fairness all the time, fairness. But if we're disrupting 3 schools, right? When if we could just add a little bit more money into it, it wouldn't disrupt, all three schools. No other school in the county are we disrupting three schools for one. And I think we add a little bit more money to it, we wouldn't be as disrupted to those other schools. I mean, we talk about fairness. I think I would like to see. I'd like to get more of an update on where we're at with that, and then what steps we can do as a board. Because I know we talked about it. There's been interest from the other board members saying, maybe we could add some more money to it. So I would just like to see. I would like more of an update on where we're at on that.
Well, as far as money's concerned, obviously, with the design, we'll get the design and get that approved, and then you have to send it to, and then it gets to what's called the schematic stage, and we have to send that to Charleston, to the School Building Authority, because they have $1 million in that project. And there's no use to discuss, I mean, we have a budgeted amount. If this board's desirous of putting, obviously, we send it, and when you bid it up, well, depending on what the bids are, we may not have to put any more money in to get to the building that we want. I don't know.
We talked about having, here's plan number 1, here's plan number 2, and here's how much plan number 3 may cost you.
Well,
so that just like we've done for Johnson, where we had the plan number 1 with this, the increased gym with that, it would be this much more. I mean, I just think that's something we've talked about, so that we as a board can discuss that.
Yeah, and there'll be, part of the design will have what is called a deduct alternate, which allows the contractors who bid on it to take a specific, pull it out, put a specific number on it, and if the board's so desirous, either accept or reject. And that's where the additional money would go in if this board's so desirous. In other words, multi-purpose room, a larger gym, an auditorium, things of that nature, which we've been discussing about designing that. Those would probably be, and I don't want to be that specific yet, but those would be what we call deduct alternates. And once they bid it up, for example, let's just say they bid $5.4 million for the entire, then that's accepting the audit. Say, well, that's a little too much. How much is the multi-purpose room? The multi-purpose room is $1.4 million. Well, let's take that off. Then it's 3.9, and we say if this board's desirous of saying, well, 3.9, we can do that. That would be the additional funds, or the entire, that will be available. So what you're desirous of, Michael, is going to be available to this board. And let's keep that in mind, though, and we also have the Gore project. But I can certainly understand your concern, and we're going to be going out there relatively soon to and sit down with all the parties involved. But you'll have the opportunity, this board will have that opportunity to look at numbers and make that decision, okay?
Can I ask the one thing that, Michael, you said that I don't quite understand, how is putting, I know we're disrupting 3 schools. I'm not sure I understand what money you're talking about to prevent that. Did I misunderstand you?
No, just in passing, we've talked about we'd be interested in like if they would have alternates, like increasing a little bit, adding this like the alternate room in, adding a little bit more funds to that, and that is something that I've heard several board members talking about, and that's where I'm like, okay, well, it would be great if we could do it right the first time. I mean, that's encouraging instead of going, okay, well, let's just disrupt all three schools. That's it. No one's promised anything. Is just open to the possibility.
Okay, I just misunderstood. I thought you had a plan that there was something that had been discussed that all 3 schools wouldn't be disrupted. I just misunderstood you. I'm sorry.
Whenever they were doing the layouts, when we were down there at the school, whenever they had, they were showing an alternate way of doing things, which would not interfere with any of the other schools. Everything would be built kind of beside it, and then it'd have 2 levels. And then we wouldn't have to use any of the classroom space in the middle school or the high school. But any diversion from that would mean we'd have to use some of the middle schools and the high school space. So then having an elementary school there would then essentially affect all 3 schools would be, everyone would have to be giving up space.
I see what you're saying now. I understand now.
So it's not just a simple, oh, here's an extra school. Nope, now everyone's got to juggle and now every school would be losing something at the elementary school there. So it was just one of the plans the architect drew up, or that showed if we did it this way, then it wouldn't affect any schools. And then if we alternate any other ways, it may affect another school, and if we do it this way, it would affect, 3 schools. So that's where, if we can not affect 3 schools, you know what I mean? That would be the preferred way, where we're just connecting to it.
Okay, I see what you mean now. I know exactly what you mean now. You're saying just build a school right next to it, and don't take any of the middle school rooms, and then
Yeah,
don't
well,
take
there was
any of
some
the high
shared,
school rooms.
there was some shared space, with the design, but it wouldn't put the school out, it was just sharing the space. But then, if we didn't do some of it, then it was gonna take, then we'd have to use some of the middle school rooms, and then if we did, the middle school would have to use some of the high school rooms, because we'd take up the middle school, so it would essentially put 3 schools out. You just have to see the architects, what they've drawn up, the several different ideas.
I see what you mean now.
I haven't seen an updated list or updated design.
And I think that's where, and Michael, those are excellent questions. That's where we are now. We've asked them to go and some additional design work to try to get it within budget and minimize the amount of space. We are going to have to utilize space in both buildings. So there's no way of getting around it and be reasonable. So
I haven't seen the updated plan.
yeah, and we're going to, and that's where we are, and we're still in the planning phase. That's what. We'll be doing that pretty soon, and we'll certainly let you know. I know how much it means to you, and we're going to let you, and you'll be party to it. You'll be able to sit there and listen to the discussion. Well, as all the board members would be.
Can you send me an email what those updated plans are, or have that sent to me? 'Cause I'm not aware.
Yes, we will. We'll in fact, we were trying to get a few things finalized, but I'll just bring it to the board meeting, but we'll certainly get those to you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is that it on facilities? I have one facility.
Pardon me?
You still on facilities?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, I have one issue, and I've talked to a couple board members, but I spoke to the sheriff on a couple of occasions, and they have redesigned his command staff, so he has a northern, southern, and a central. And they've got places for the central and the southern, but they were looking for a place northern district. We have a bus garage, or bus terminal at Lincoln High School outside the football field that's not being used. I think it's got a bathroom, a kitchenette or something.
It does.
It would be perfect for them. If we can get that on the agenda to try to do a no-cost lease to them, that would put a deputy on our grounds at Lincoln High 24/7, because it'll be around the clock. Right now, it's just being used for storage, and I would rather it be used, if we can help the sheriff's department by putting a deputy. I think that helps us as much as it helps.
I think it's an excellent idea, and I think you and I had a chance to talk to that. It's not being utilized, so I don't think that'll be a problem.
I think you should put it on the agenda to make a vote for turning it over.
If we have an update on the railing and the property in between as well, since we're discussing that area, put it all together.
Yeah, it's just gonna be an office.
Yeah, I have Joe Ammons did get a material list, and to see the cost of the materials to replace it, and that would be, of course, with us doing the work. So we plan on reaching out to Shinston, further talk with Dr. Manchin and finance to see what we're able to do. It definitely needs some repairs done to it. There's no question about that.
Okay, that's great, and
So
make
this
sure
might be a
that we
shared
reach
thing,
out to
though?
the city.
Well, that's what we're, that's what.
I mean,
we're
if we provided, say, material, they provide the manpower to put it in and paint it and all that, or vice versa?
I'll take care of I've already said that by community service guys, I can have them paint it. So, we supply the reflective paint, so.
Okay. I mean, I think it should be a shared project,
They want to
not all
share
be
it.
on us.
Yeah, they do.
They do, they want to
Yeah,
share
so,
it.
we can get it, I think we'll get it done in the spring one way or another.
And also, we need to check on the leases, or if who's willing to
Yeah,
lease.
both property owners have said that they are willing to do that. Right now, it's been, the weather hasn't been real good, but we need to get in there with both owners so that we can take a look exactly where we're gonna put the trail
Okay.
across. And, so that's just a matter of probably weeks to be able to get that done. And then, you know, tentatively take a look, see what we may need to do, put a little gravel there, that type of thing, so
Okay.
the kids can walk.
I don't know, Jimmy or Doc, one of you, might want to talk to Mr. Ammons and ask him to check over Johnson Elementary and the gym on, as you go in the gym on the far side, about middle. It rained again the other night. I was there for a ball game and
Yeah, you
there
mentioned,
was a little bit of drip there. If they could just get that checked, you know, before it gets too far along. Right about in the middle of it.
Mr. President, I do have another request. I kind of drove up there, but there were a lot of cars there. I know that we had on the project last year fixing Liberty's parking lot. And I don't think anyone went in and really fixed it. They just did patchwork, and it is absolutely destroyed again. And I think we really need to, since we are not doing the RCB project until we get a clearer idea about the upcoming WI project, if there's any way we could look at funding to totally break down that parking lot and repave the whole thing, because the patch jobs aren't working.
I would say that we have our budget meeting and budget and personnel meeting next week on Monday. I would say that would be the perfect time
Okay.
to bring that up, to try to add, to see if
We'll
there's
try to make a
something.
wish list if
Yeah.
Dora gets her personnel done, we'll try to make a wish
It's
list.
bad out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll
it's like
have something
Maple
to
Lake,
say.
they patched, and you just get to the point that you can't do it anymore.
and,
And they had to come in and grate the whole thing down, and that's about how Liberty needs that.
Just
It's a
bring
mess
that
out
up as something that we want to work on for the wish list,
Okay.
for the budget meeting for next week.
and I was gonna ask, both Sharon and Dora to just kind of briefly touch on, what we have planned, and Dora, obviously facility, and kind of give us some timelines where we are with, letters. I think one of the questions, we were sitting upstairs, just kind of get the board up to speed where we are with personnel during this personnel season.
Sure, I met with the school administrators, I have an idea for each of the schools. I've met with Title I, and I'll be meeting with Vic, the special ed department, to get his, what his cuts or whatever his ideas are for staffing. And then we won't be delivering transfer letters till the first 2 weeks of March.
Okay.
So we'll be finalizing those and working on.
Do we have an idea,
And we're getting requests, I mean, we've got requests too for,
I'm sorry, what?
I said we have requests, we seem to be getting some requests for additional staff in different places, so we're looking.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, to
So,
cover some things, we're trying to come up with a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, they'll be
Deal
going
with
out here
some of
pretty
the
soon, and
requests.
then we'll be setting up your timelines for our hearings.
Yeah.
So do you have, you haven't sent out the letters yet for
No,
transfers?
no, they'll
Okay.
be delivered and we'll send them certified in early March.
Okay, so what are you going to be giving us on Monday, next week?
A plan on.
Oh,
what
you're
we're-
showing us the plan on
Yes,
which
I'll
door.
have
Okay.
At least a pretty good idea then who's going to be getting moved or realigned.
Okay.
And,
Do you have any idea when we're going to do it?
Retirements
set
will
that date
go
when we're
on the
done.
next,
I wanna
on
set
the
that
next
date
board
next.
agenda. Our retirements that we've
They'll be
got
on
in, they'll be on this,
next
next
board
board
agenda.
agenda.
Okay.
The 18th
And-
board
and-
agenda. They're due in now.
good.
Oh,
thank
so
you.
we already have a meeting scheduled for the 18th.
And Sharon, the budgeting, and
We do.
which I think that she had mentioned that,
Just getting started there, so.
and we're starting to put the budget together, so everybody, any thoughts that you have, let us know, we'll start putting all that in there. Mr. President, I think that's all I have for Superintendent's update.
Would you like to remind them of the dismissal we had?
Oh, that's right, I just,
We had
yeah.
we got some good news last week on Wednesday about a dismissal of a lawsuit. We had
Mhm.
Oh,
8
yeah.
counts and all counts were dismissed.
I saw
So,
that.
at this point, so.
That's very
That
good
was
news.
Saves
Okay,
a lot of
You
money.
still won't say it out loud.
so at this point in time, we have to have some date changes and additions for meetings. Yes, here it is. So due to the Frank Loria banquet on March 24th, I'd like to request that we move the meeting scheduled for March 24th on Tuesday to Monday, March 23rd at 6 o'clock.
Where's your calendar, Doug?
Can you send these out?
It's at
tomorrow?
home, it's at home.
Will you
I
send
got
us
it
out
wrote
the
down.
list
It's
of all the
Yes,
boards?
I'll do that.
I have it, I'll update you and send you.
Yeah,
That,
now I
that's,
have to put it
that's
on.
not the regular meeting though, right? That's
No,
like a special
no.
meeting.
Frank, you said the 23rd?
Yeah.
Moving the special meeting for the attendance area to Monday, the 23rd of March. Are there any objections to that?
March 23rd, we have board meeting.
At 6
It's
o'clock?
it's the special meeting we had at 5 o'clock.
It's scheduled for 5 o'clock,
Right.
it's a work
It was
session.
it was the work session, or the special meeting for the attendance area. We want to move that to the 24th, or I'm sorry,
It's
the
still at
23rd.
5.
Monday,
Yeah,
the
it's
23rd
at
at
5
5. Okay. So that one is good. And then we would need to spend, I'd say about an hour or an hour and a half doing Dr. Manchin's evaluation. In your packets, Michael, you'll have to pick yours up, but in your packets, you have the evaluation instrument for Dr. Manchin's evaluation. So what I would like to do. Yes,
Yeah, we do a new one, because remember we talked about last year, it was just, it's so, we were going to shorten it down and make it more,
so.
manageable. It's so.
Yeah. So to that point, Michael, we are not allowed to change the instrument unless we get permission from the State Department of Education. And we have to
Okay.
do that prior, in the packet, there's a statute that tells you exactly how to go about doing that and when we would have to have had, in order to receive state board approval by July 1st, it would have had to have been done by July 1st in order for us to change the evaluation instrument.
Okay.
So if we wanted to change the evaluation instrument, that would have to be something we would have to start working on and instruct, as a board, start working on together to what the criteria would be.
Okay.
But for this purpose, I'd like to set up a meeting. What time is our meeting on the 18th? 6 PM?
You start actually on the 18th at 5, that's your first meeting on the calendar.
Mhm.
At 5:30, you have personnel, and this is February 18th again.
Mhm.
And then the regular meeting, 6.
Okay. February 18th probably is not a good idea. What about the 11th? We have a meeting on the 10th. Never mind.
What meeting do we have on the 10th? Is the EFP?
No, the
No.
personnel calendar and budget.
And
What time is it on the 10th?
it is at 4 o'clock.
I have something that evening, so I'd rather not add something to, the 10th, if we can.
I want to give us about a week to 2 weeks.
We do 17th?
No, we have, well, I suppose we could do the 17th.
We have a meeting on the 16th,
The 16th is Sunday.
with March 16th.
Well, I'm talking about February.
We're looking at February.
Yeah, February 17th.
It's my birthday,
We can do a meeting on Gary's birthday.
When's your birthday?
17th.
Mine's the 18th.
Of February?
So I think that we have to have cake on both nights.
Aquarius.
Cake on both nights. Did you hear that? 17th and the 18th, cake on both nights.
There you go, Angie.
All right, so we're gonna have a meeting on
February 17th.
February 17th.
Now, that is a
this-
holiday, not
Yeah,
that.
it's
replacing a meeting?
Mhm.
No, that's an extra.
This is in addition to,
Can-
this is the superintendent's evaluation meeting.
I'm assuming, yeah, there's no statute.
So we're gonna do it on
We
the
can do it on a
17th by
holiday.
itself.
On the 17th by itself, yeah. Because the 18th, we have so many meetings scheduled already.
No, it's not a holiday.
Yeah, it is. It's
It's a
President's Day.
holiday.
Well, it's President's Day, but we
You're-
work.
you're-
Yeah.
We work.
So if anybody has any, if there are any questions about the 17th,
So what time on the 17th?
5 o'clock, 5:30,
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock,
Cool.
5 o'clock on the 17th. All right. That is all the meeting and date changes. So, Michael, you'll have to stop in and pick up your evaluation instrument, and I would ask that you guys bring the evaluation instruments with you on the 17th, and then we will go into executive session and do the evaluation together as we have in the past.
Good.
Okay. All right. Is there any Technical Center, United Technical Center update?
No, Friday.
Okay. All right. If that concludes superintendent's update?
Yes, it does, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, we'll move on to consent items. Is there a motion to approve consent items as recommended by the
So-
superintendent?
So moved.
Mr. Hoag has made the motion to approve. Mr. Doherty has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. No new business to talk about, no old business, no policy updates. This brings us down to personnel.
I move pursuant to 6-9A-4, number 2 of the West Virginia Code, that the board go into executive session to discuss personnel and personnel matters, which if discussed in public might affect adversely the reputation of any person.
Ms. Messenger has made a motion to go into executive session for the personnel motion. Is there a second?
Second it.
Mr. Hoag has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are in executive session. Michael, I'll call you back on myself. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are right back in regular session. Okay. At this point in time, this takes us to personnel matters. Is there a motion to accept the personnel agenda with the personnel, oh, wait.
Yeah, Dr. Manchin, were you
Yes.
going to?
We're going to pull the job description.
Yeah. Mr. President, I asked that you pull the job description for the extracurricular contract as it needs a little more work, and I'll bring that back at the next board meeting, let the record reflect that.
Okay. All right. So is there a motion to accept the personnel agenda without the job description and the and the personnel agenda adjustments?
So moved.
Mr. Hamrick has made the motion to approve. Mr. Doherty has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. We are accepting motions for adjournment.
So moved.
Mr. Hamrick has made the motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Mr. Hoag has seconded the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Children of peace, go in peace.
Okay.